Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Julia. I'm pretty good. How about you?
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today on our NextGens in Impact Spotlight series.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation as well.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So in this series, as we talked about a little bit before, we feature social entrepreneurs like yourself, impact investors as well, also kind of you as well, and other thought leaders in the US and Latin America talking about the why, how, and what of impact. So today we're going to speak with Mario a little bit about his company, ClickMe, and he will tell us a little bit about what ClickMe is doing in the space. But first, just reintroducing myself, I am Julia Wilkinson, the CEO of Invest. And at Invest, we capacity build and help investors, entrepreneurs, fund managers maximize their value through sustainability, diversity, ESG, and impact. So we love connecting global investors and thought leaders around the world so that they can learn best practices. And that is why we're here today with Mario to hear about his company and how he got here. So Mario, tell us a little bit about you.
About me, well, my name is Mario. I am Chilean. Well, if that was not mentioned before, I live in Chile. I've been living in different places. So first I was in Australia, then I went to New York, and then came back here to Chile at 2020, when the pandemic started and everything. And I'm an industrial engineer. That's an actual career here in Chile that nobody else in the world understands. But if you kind of translate it to what guys in other countries do, like Australia or United States, I am like an operational researcher. So but in Chile we're called industrial engineers. So we kind of look at problems, we try to optimize them, and it's very focused on systems, on projects, on people. And I was working on this in the mining sector for about 2 years, and then I started a Master of Economics in Australia, and I focused the Master of Economics in well-being, which was super weird for me. I think the economics of well-being and everything that is focused on well-being is very not really an engineer subject, but it was very I think that without that knowledge, even engineering doesn't really have sense. So I was just studying economics to understand how to make the biggest good possible most efficiently, and that's why actually ClickMe was born. But I guess that's another question.
Oh no, but that's an amazing background. Thank you so much for sharing, and how exciting that there is a program now on the economics of well-being, and people really starting to think about how we create value to society, to the planet, and to all of the stakeholders beyond just the individual or the shareholder.
Exactly.
Which brings us to, I think, one of the whys for you starting ClickMe. So tell us more.
Of course. Well, ClickMe is many things, but I think that the main, like the elevator pitch, will be a platform to link the private sector with social causes that perform very well. So that's what we do. Okay. And I think that the why behind everything has to do with doing the right thing. It's super broad at the beginning, but it's very philosophical. When I was there in Australia, I learned a lot with my teammates at the time about different philosophical ways of answering the question of how do we do the most good possible, right? And there is this author called Peter Singer. Are you familiar with him, Julia?
Yes.
Well, Peter Singer is like this philosopher, Australian philosopher. He's very like renowned, that started this movement called effective altruism, and this example is exactly what got me into I will say social impact, altruism, and I'm basically ways of doing good, which is if you happen to be, let's say that you're on Miami, right? You're like walking on the park in Miami, and you just bought some boots. What's your favorite brand, Julia? Clothes brand,
My
like a
favorite,
luxury one.
Carolina Herrera.
Carolina Herrera. Okay, perfect. So you just got out from a store with your bag, and you have your Carolina Herrera boots on. They're very expensive. Let's say that they're like $100, right? And then you go through this park, and there is a little shallow pond that is not big enough to cover you, but it's big enough to cover around like 1 month or something, 1 meter, sorry, or something. So you're walking there, and you see that there is a child that is drowning, right?
Yeah.
And you have to take a decision. What would you do, Julia?
Definitely get the child.
Get the child. You're gonna, destroy your boots,
Right.
but you're gonna save a life. So
right.
I think that that's a beautiful example, because it is whether you, throw away $100 for you to save a life, or you don't. And I think that anybody that doesn't, that if you ask this question to anybody, and this person answers like, no, I will keep my boots, that's kind of a ethical monster, right? That's not like a good a good person in our society, right? So that's pretty much right. So that's pretty much what got me into, okay, if I'm able to help somehow, I think that I have like this moral urge to help. And that's why I started engaging with ClickMe, with NGOs, and I started to dig a little bit and understand that they had so much problems with efficiency, with transparency, and that's what got us into ClickMe, to make all of that transparent, more efficient, and to help them fundraise money to those kids that are in these shallow ponds that nobody sees. It has to do with also making people aware that there are like these problems that you can just solve by $1. You can save so many lives by just donating $1 monthly. It's the impact is huge if you give the right amount of money to the right NGO. That's effective altruism, basically maximizing the output with the least money possible. Hopefully not giving away, like Carolina Herrera boots, because they should be very nice.
Yes, I love that. So tell me, what is the business model behind ClickMe, and who is the target demographic on the sell side and the buy side?
Perfect. I wish I could tell you that, but it's for us. We have changed a lot. We have pivoted a lot along the way, mainly because social entrepreneurship is double as difficult as entrepreneurship. Because if you go social, you have to make sure. So you have stakeholders here, and you have, let's say, shareholders here. So you have to go and please all of them. Where if you're an NGO, you only need to worry about stakeholders, and if you are, in this case, a normal company, you will only try to increase, the shares for the shareholders. And in our case, that needs to be computable for both, and that's why the social entrepreneurship models tend to vary that much. In our case, we started with it was with an overhead. So each time that someone donates, we'll take around 6 to 10% of the donation as an overhead. It was an overhead because we said, okay, this is the cost of the social cost. We will increase that cost and add our cost, our price. But that didn't really catch up, because I think it was too complex to explain both to clients, which were like normally like the shareholders, and to our let's say beneficiaries that were the NGOs. So now we pivoted towards a membership model that increases if you donate more, basically. So
Right.
that's what we do. It's like a very if you donate more than a certain amount, you will pay a certain membership to use our donation software and tracking software and all of the different features that it has.
Great. And the target customer?
Yeah, there are the companies. Now we're focusing on companies. So the thing is that at least in Chile, in the United States, I will say that the donation world is very good. It's beautiful. I was living there for almost like 2 years, and the whole dynamic of it is very good. I mean, you can donate. You have tax benefits immediately as an individual. It's very well done. But here in Chile, it's not. Here in Chile, I would say that the state is not very donation. It's not very pro donation. They try to be the ones to monopolize the social impact, and that's something that we don't really want. We want actually people to impact and to have transparency in their own decisions, right? In what they resonates with their value, whether that is helping, like kids to have access to education, or that is giving potable water to rural areas that doesn't have potable water. So I think that the United States, if we start in the United States, the main demographic will be people. So because we have tested this, and it shows that transparency, that donation tracking is very good for people. It increases the retention around 12% in our experiments here in Chile. But in Chile, our main target are companies, because people in Chile doesn't have that much money to give away, right? So, but companies do. Companies have a lot of money here in Chile to give away, and they don't really do. Because if you ask most of them, they're like, yeah, why should I? I'm a shareholder focused organization. I shouldn't do that. So what we try to do is to make them understand that about the benefits of in this case of linking with altruism NGOs, and to show that in a way that generates values to them. So that's why now we started another brand. So this is the old brand. This is Click Me, and but now we started This Is Good, which is basically this seal that if you see, for example, let's say that this little cup has this seal like that.
Yeah.
So then if you buy this cup, that that company will be donating part of the revenue of that product into a social cause. The big twist here is that you choose the social cause. So you are the one that chooses the social cause, and of course you will choose one that will resonate with your values, right? So, but right now answering your company is basically answering your question is basically companies here in Chile.
Fantastic. No, and I love that. I love that evolution of your product. Tell us a little bit more about why your product has evolved over time.
Of course.
And just for the listeners, that the concept a little bit more about the concept on the e-commerce integration and how the selection process works.
Of course. So first thing is that we changed because in 2020 there was this massive pandemic here in Chile. I was supposed to go back to New York, like to continue to evolve Click Me there, but the pandemic wasn't helping us that much. But it really helped us in Chile, actually.
Right?
No, it really helped us in Chile because since it was a social impact major issue, the donations duplicated on Chile. The corporate giving duplicated on Chile. And they went for us. The Inter-American Development Bank was like, okay, we need a platform that is transparent, that is able to make NGOs accountable, because we're going to need everybody here, like working as a team, civil society and the private sector, to be able to confront this issue. And so it was very good for the platform at that point. The main thing was that people still didn't donate that much. So we fundraised about, I will say $900,000 with a festival that we did along other people, like almost 1 million. Amazing. And it was, I will say that the main problem that people had at that point was they didn't have money because of the pandemic, and at the same time, companies were the ones donating more. I will say that 80% of the money that was fundraised was from companies. So that gave us like a hint of, okay, if you're gonna do experiments or you're gonna survive here in Chile, then you should focus toward companies to add value to them. And then maybe a second stage should be individuals. And that's what we're doing right now. So I think that the main problem that we also had was that we're not an aspirin, as they say on the startup world. We're a vitamin. So you need someone to tell you on an ad, okay, take this vitamin. It's not obvious the problem that you have. If you want to engage companies with social impact, it's fairly new. It's something that they don't see the value immediately. So we had to kind of evangelize like all of these companies to tell them, hey, start donating. You can do donation tracking, because they didn't have that problem and they didn't see it as an opportunity. So what we're doing with This Is Good is basically, this actually helps companies in terms of the amount of products that they sell, the amount of the price. They can even increase the price of the products, because people that states that here in Chile, with a survey that we did, they will buy a product 10% more expensive if it's linked with a social cost. So that also helps the revenue, and also helps in terms of the customer fidelization. I don't know if that's a word, Julia, but like
loyalty. Yeah.
Sorry?
Loyalty.
Loyalty, exactly. Sorry. Yeah. So with the customer loyalty, it helps a lot, because you will then be able to focus on a specific demographic, which are people that are social, conscious consumers. And at the same time, they will be able to track the donation and the impact that they're generating by buying in your store. So it generates a lot of loyalty in terms of users. So those are real benefits towards the company, and that's what we're doing right now with This Is Good. And the second step, I will say, will be to with these same companies, like, okay, we have made it clear that it has benefits. What don't you have like an ethical, like tingly somewhere in your company, like that will make you donate, not because of money or anything, but because of the impact that you're generating? And that's what we're aiming for. Like first stage in the company, generate value. Second stage, creating like this impact culture inside the company.
Fabulous. To your point about how COVID accelerated sort of collaboration and the technology yes. behind giving, I definitely see that as well in the US and in impact investing generally. I think we saw a lot of bridges being built across continent, across sectors to get things done, which was unprecedented. And so I'm excited to hear that it, even though that it accelerated your product, and that also opened up a new sort of demographic to serve the corporates, their employees, their e-commerce platforms. So congratulations on all the progress.
100%. Thank you very much, Julia. It was it was a complex situation, but I think that it was the perfect time to be a startup about social impact at that point, but there was so much feedback. Like we had around 200 NGOs that listed like in only 1 month. And we had around also 10,000 people commenting, giving us feedback. No, this is good. This is bad. Okay, this is too much. We don't know what. And we were a team of 5 people. Everyone like talking with everyone, like working. It was like a very crazy period. It took a toll on most of the team as well. But it was a crazy period, but full of a lot of lessons about social impact.
Yeah, and we talked, I think another important thing that you and I discussed that you service as well is some of the challenges that nonprofits have managing donations from different corporates, the administrative side, and that you're kind of playing this role of streamlining both sides of the field. So can you tell us a little bit more about the problem you're solving for nonprofits?
Yes, of course. This is a problem, I would say, exclusively to the Chilean market that we have seen.
I see.
So in the United States, if you became a 501c3, it's after you're a 501c3 and someone donates to you, then you shouldn't have a problem as a donor to show that tax as a tax receipt for your tax benefits. So in Chile, it's not like that. In Chile, there are like it's like the Chilean IRS involved, and also like the government is involved, and also like different departments of the government and the municipalities are basically involved to give you one certificate, and that certificate is for one donation. So you really have quite literally like a book with all the certificates that you can give. Wow. And that's, we're talking about, Chile is very modern in technologically speaking, but we're talking here about Middle Ages, right? So one of the things that we do, we help NGOs to get those certifications as well. We give them also legal counseling, and also, so if you if you arrive to a company and you're like, hey, why don't you donate? They have a very good excuse not to do it, because it's so, I mean, they don't really understand it. And so in Chile, only the biggest companies with the best lawyers actually are able to perform these massive donations. Wow. What we do is we try to summarize everything into one certificate that the NGO can show, like being now a 501c3 basically, and then being able to receive the donations, and then we act as a middleman to help the private company to understand what the certificate is and what's the process that they should take, and we help the NGO to get the certificate as well. So without that, I think that ClickMe wouldn't be possible.
Fascinating. Well, that's also important work. I wouldn't be surprised if there's other countries that have similar challenges, maybe not exactly that one, that you can also solve for. Which brings me to the question of what is the opportunity for your product in and beyond Chile and Latin America? Yes. And you know, how does the product market fit work by country, region, more or less?
Perfect. Yes, I will say that at least in Chile, we're facing a beautiful outlook right now, because the donation law that I just kind of summarized has changed, and it changed on May 2022 because of a project that actually was sponsored through ClickMe. There was like this project that lawyers wanted to do lobby for different senators to push this law, and that was actually funded by our platform. It's called Mesa Circular. It's a beautiful project. And what they wanted to do was, okay, there are a lot of different social impact areas that are not being able to fund themselves because the law doesn't allow it. So, for example, NGOs couldn't give certificates about education, or about gender equality, or about animals, or ecology. That wasn't there. So this new law, supposedly, apart from that, it allows NGOs to do that, but supposedly will duplicate the amount of donations that we're going to have from here to the next year. So now is the best time in Chile to actually be part of the NGOs and the civil society right now. And in the United States, we will see.
Yeah.
We will see. We don't have product market fit there yet because we haven't tested it, but we will see.
What about the rest of Latin America? Is it similar in the sense that you're seeing more corporates donating in the countries, like let's say Brazil, Mexico? Do you have a next country in LATAM you would like to enter?
Yeah, so Mexico is constantly a good aim because of the size of the market, the size of the companies. But I will say that the United States should be first, because we already have a company there. We have a lot of network in the United States, and we haven't kicked off on the United States. So right now, for example, there are like several examples of successful social entrepreneurships in the United States, and they use donations. I mean, this is kind of old. I mean, it's from 2017, but do you know Amaze, Julia?
No.
Amaze is beautiful. I mean, do you like Star Wars?
I love Star Wars.
Okay, so what if I told you that you can win an entrance to see the next Star Wars movie with Mark Hamill?
I mean, I could do that. That'd be fun.
Okay, right? So this
I
is
can make the sacrifice.
yeah, right. So Mark Hamill actually did this, and but this was like a raffle. You could
Yeah,
look at this raffle, but to do so, you had to donate to
I
your favorite NGO and so on.
I
So that's
see.
an example of very good news in the United States. Maybe well, the important point there is that they fundraise the most amount of money in the less amount of time in the history of the donations. Just
Wow,
because Mark Hamill was there, like smiling,
that's
uh,
amazing.
right?
And that was
So
also, was that a for-profit company like yours in that specific example, the company managing the platform?
yes, no. It's Oasis. They don't do donation tracking. So as ClickMe, we can plug in to these social companies. That's what we want.
Oh, great.
But Oasis is basically about the raffle, the prize, and the donation. They're very successful. They are from Venice. They went to the United States, and now they're massive.
Got it. Got it. Amazing. Well, I'm gonna look that up. I haven't seen that. But
Awesome.
that's amazing that you can tap into companies like that on the back end and help them measure and manage their own impact. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So that way, if you participate with the raffle, you can
Mhm.
actually understand what's the impact that you're generating by only participating on that raffle. So that makes you a more loyal customer, and at the same time, when you are doubting, you have doubts about buying a specific product, especially these ones that are called what's the name? Frivolous. You guys in English have like very funny words for this. It's called a frivolous product. It's basically a product that you don't really need. It's a product that
Right.
will only give you pleasure. It's not something. It's not food. It's not survival. Maybe an expensive food in an expensive restaurant.
Right.
Those products are the best ones to add donations, because if you increase a little bit, like 5 or 10%, the person is gonna say like, yeah, well, I'm gonna be doing this anyway. So when
True.
you go to the raffle and you're like, okay, do I want to go and see Mark Hamill with Mark Hamill this new movie? You will say, okay, I'm gonna just pay 10% more,
Fair. Absolutely.
right?
We'll do that.
Yeah,
So,
frivolous.
which brings us to an important question.
Mhm.
How do you help track towards the impact goals, both for the user being the person that's actually making that donation, but also for your
Yes.
goals as a company?
Yes. So the impacts for us, the impact measurement for us is, I think we're cheating in here because it's very easy for us. The NGOs are doing it, and we ask the NGOs to actually do it to be in our platform. So they have to measure how many people they have helped. They have to give us evidence, and that's the evidence that we're showing them through email and through our own platform to the clients and to the donors, right? So this is the person that you helped. This is the expenditures that they had, and so on. So,
And with a
so the
very
impact
visual
measure
aspect, right? You show
exactly,
photos, receipts, so you have
exactly.
tangible proof.
Exactly, and that way the impact measurement is actually done by our partners. And actually that's very good for ClickMe, because most of the social entrepreneurships that I've had that I've looked, that's an important part of the budget, right? To show that you're generating impact. In this case, by helping the NGOs with your own business model, you should be showing through the NGO what's the impact that you're generating.
Absolutely.
Right?
And are you using, what kind of metrics do you pull data from for asking
Yes.
them questions?
So we generated a very a long a list of metrics. We used the the Organization of American States standards with some specialists there, and we also added some metrics from. We worked with someone that works with Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Sachs?
Sachs, yeah, from the University of Columbia. So
Awesome.
it's super easy. I mean, there are metrics that says, okay, how many people have you helped, and what is the chance that they are seeing in their life? Most of the NGOs also can use ClickMe to ask these questions to their beneficiary, so they can so we can understand what is the change theory behind what they were doing. And the impact metrics, we call them not impact metrics, we call them impact indicator, because with that we can generate, I mean, the NGOs can generate broader impact metrics. And so everybody understands, for example, if you are donating towards This is a good example. If you're donating to Begin Anew, which is a beautiful NGO in Uganda that my partner Javier is constantly helping because he got in love with that NGO. The impact indicator will say how many wells have you digged to get potable water, right? But the impact measurement will be, okay, how many kids now are going to their schools because they don't have to walk around 5 kilometers to go to look for water, or how many mothers can now be free to have leisure time instead of going to look for the water as well. And so those are the impact measurements that through the impact indicator you are able to get through ClickMe. And it's very good for NGOs as well, because not most of them engage with impact measurement. They tend to they tend to say, no, help us because we're generating impact. Yeah, but maybe there is another one like you, like another NGO that is doing the same and is generating more impact by less amount of money. So I think that there should be like an invisible hand as well to lead us to this other NGO that is more effective. That's the base of ClickMe, which is effective altruism, as we discussed before.
Fantastic. Awesome. Super interesting, impactful journey that you're on. Tell us, for those who are considering being a nonprofit versus a for-profit, why did you guys decide to be a for-profit, and what stage are you in? Where are you headed next?
Yeah, that's a tricky question for me, Julia, because we just created a nonprofit called For Good at the same time that we have ClickMe as a For Good company. I will say that the main thing is about growth. If you're gonna grow fast, I will recommend doing a social entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. If you wanna really get in touch with the problem and not necessarily grow fast but organically, I will say take a more NGO approach. But as of right now, I will encourage companies to keep being companies and to help NGOs, and NGOs keep being NGOs, and maybe engage with different companies to have a flux of money. In Chile, we have a saying that is zapatero a tus zapatos, which means like shoemaker to your shoes. If you do shoes, keep making shoes, because if there was actually this big shoes company called Tom's. This is still around, but they were, I think that they were spending around 50% of their budget only on impact measurement. So like, dude, you're a company. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing the best shoes in the world and then donating part of that towards your social causes. So that's the main issue. I will say that first, you need to have a good problem to solve and then expand with your neighbors. But don't try to do both at the same time, because that's not really successful normally.
Great advice. I love that. So you want to grow, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
And that means that in some point, I imagine you have a vision for the company in the 5 to 10 years. Tell us a little bit what that looks like.
Yeah, we want to have around 5,000 companies using ClickMe every month and donating, and that I would say that's in five years, that's a dream for me right now. But I think that if we're able to achieve that, we're going to be able to each month to dig around 100 potable water wells. We're going to be able to do a lot of scholarships around, I calculated once, 700 each month. So I think that there are no more words needed for that impact in five years.
Awesome. Love that. Well, I hope to see that happen, and we'll be supporting you on your journey. And we need more people like you building a more sustainable, measurable, and connected future, right, for us to achieve all of these lofty goals. And right now we have COP27 going on, so lots of new commitments and people needing more than ever the ability to transparently and with confidence be able to deploy capital globally. So thanks for all you're working on, and we hope to see you continue on this to the top.
Of course. And if you want to know more about effective altruism, I really recommend Living Ethically, but it's a book by Peter Singer. It's amazing. And also any book by William McCaskill. He's also amazing. He works on the same subject and area. It's from the University of Oxford, and he has a new book also talking about the risks of the future and how we should donate towards those causes that minimize the risk of the future. It's very interesting.
I will read that. I have not picked that up.
Amazing.
Thank you for those great tips.
Yeah, no worries, Julia. My pleasure. Thank you for the interview as well.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch and have a great day.
Amazing. You too.
Cool.